Come join Melissa and her guests on the Chats from the Blog Cabin podcast. From North Carolina, this podcast will have you feeling like you've known these folks for years. Listen in as they chat about life, culture, current events, and more, all with a special Southern flair. Curl up with your favorite beverage and get ready to be entertained. Tune in now for a unique experience that's fun and insightful.
Hey y'all, welcome back to another episode of Chats from the Blog Cabin, the show where I virtually invite people into the Blog Cabin to chat about life. And today it's Women's History Month. All month of March, I am highlighting either a woman that inspires me, an organization that is doing amazing things, as well as doing some solo episodes for tributes in history. And today it's a combination of a little bit of all of them. It's about an organization that's doing amazing things, also about someone that really inspires me, and that is my middle daughter, Michaela. She is the founder of Kata's Cats, and I'm so excited that she's on. But before we start that, I want to start off with a quote, and it says, "I alone cannot change the world, but I can cast a stone across the waters to create many ripples." And that's Mother Teresa. And I thought that was perfect, Michaela, because Kata's Cats exactly does that. It helps with animals. It helps with cats. So let's talk about how you first started Kata's Cats and why it came about.
Yeah, so I've always wanted a cat. Everyone who knows me knows this story. But when I was in high school, I was really big in manifestation. I still am. And so every day I manifested either a cat or a Jeep Wrangler. I was about to turn 16 and a Jeep Wrangler was my dream car, still my dream car. But one day a kitten just showed up on our back porch and I begged my dad to keep it and he was like, no. So a few days later, me and my little sister Gracie were driving home from school and she spotted the kitten, so we stopped. I told her to jump out of the car and grab it. I didn't care what my dad said. And she grabbed it, but then she was like, Kata, there's another one. So we grabbed both of them. We brought them home. We were playing with them in our dog Allie's cage outside. And then in the corner of my eye, I see two properties over, the most beautiful calico cat ever. And she was just watching us, and it was Mama. It was the mama cat. We brought her, I picked her up and I took her in, but I was so uneducated about cats. I didn't know they could jump. So I thought that this tiny little Shih Tzu cage was going to hold her, but no. But she just kept coming back. The kittens ended up eventually running away, but she stayed with us and we got her fixed. Well, she had a litter and then she had another litter, but unfortunately she just like miscarried them. So that's when we were like, yeah, we need to get her fixed because obviously I think it was like a really big breaking point with my father when like Marky brought her passed away kitten to him. It kind of like pulled on his heartstrings a little bit. And he was like, all right, if we're going to keep taking care of these cats, keep feeding these cats, I guess we should get them fixed. So we got them fixed and that's kind of just how it started. I've always had a love for cats. My Nana had 1,000,001 cats. And cats the cat distribution system knows me so well. And it wasn't until I had, we had 3 cats at the time. And I just kept finding them everywhere. They kept showing up on my front porch or people would reach out to me and be like, hey, can you take this cat? And I couldn't say no. So that's when I really kind of like put in the effort to try a little harder to market myself as a foster and sitter for cats so that I can make connections and try to get all these cats home. So yeah, that's kind of how we started.
And I will have to say that we still have Marky and her babies. Two of them still live here. One's living the bougie life in California. He used to be a thug. He was the only male cat out of that litter, and now he's living the bougie life in California.
Yeah.
That was him. So why did you decide to start? Let's start with your rescues to begin with, because you already told us the story about Marky, but let's start with your first rescue. My first white grandbaby, white kitty cat, Casper Clyde. He's such a sweetheart. Let's talk about him first and how you found him and his story, and then we'll get on to the other ones.
Yeah, well, prior to Casper, I definitely had like a few cats that kind of like ran across. So I do want to mention them a little briefly. I had a little tiny kitten that showed up on the porch the steps of my apartment building. I took it in, but at the time I was working so much and it was my senior year of college. So my best friend's boyfriend's mom ended up taking him in. So he's doing great. He's a fluffy orange cat, has a lot of attitude. So seeing like success stories like that make me so happy that I'm like in this industry and knowing that like fostering is like a positive thing. You can help so many cats in that way. And then me and my partner also an orange little girl as well, Macy. She was like the love of my life. She was amazing. But unfortunately, accidents happen and everything. Yeah, her life is cut a little too short. And I think that's kind of really what triggered my like wanting to help all cats and be an advocate for cats that aren't able to, because I mean, they don't have a voice, they're not able to speak. It took me a while to heal from that too, because and with our family, we had a lot of animals, but they all seemed to like pass away due to like oldness and old age and everything. So having like a death with an animal was something that I was unfamiliar with. Like that was unfamiliar territory. It took me a while to heal from that. And then I started manifesting again, and I talked to my family and I was like, hey guys, I think I want to adopt a cat, but I don't know if the time is right. And I was like, I think I'm just gonna, manifest and be like, universe, if I'm meant to have a cat, like have it just show up at my house. And 2 days after the anniversary of Macy's death, I saw Casper. He was on my front porch. He was sitting on the chair, and he was bleeding. He was broken. He was so sad. I brought him in, and again, I was kind of in that place where I'm like, I'm post-grad. I just bought this house. I don't know if I'll have time to take care of a cat. So he stayed at my house for a full day, but I realized that, maybe this isn't meant to be. He's an outdoor cat. Like, I know he's going through a lot, but I'm going to just let him choose what he wants. And even now, I still think he would choose the outside. I know he'd come back eventually, but I know it's best to keep him inside. But he did leave for a little bit, and I joined our neighborhood Facebook group because after he left, I'm like, dude, I want this cat. Like, if you love something, you gotta let it go so that you know that you love it. And so I was like, guys, please help me find this cat. I need to find him. He's somebody's cat. Like, I'll pay for his vetting. Like, obviously he's sick. And we found him. My neighbor actually caught him, which honestly, the whole thing is a blessing in disguise because I'm still very close to that neighbor. We have formed like a friendship bond and everything. So I'm grateful to have been able to have him as a friend now. But yeah, that's pretty much how we found Casper. We took him to the vet actually after, and they were like, maybe you should euthanize this cat. And I was like, give me my cat. Like, I'm not letting that happen. So I brought him home, and yeah, we just got him fixed up and everything. It was, it was hard. It was a very hard time in all of our lives because taking care of a sick animal and having to juggle so many other things. But he eventually perked up. He healed his inner kitten, and he started getting very play aggressive. And that's when we decided, hey, the best thing to help a kitten with play aggression is to get them another cat. But again, I was so early on in the process of being uneducated about cats and everything that I was like, I should just go on Facebook and see if I could find a cat. And actually, very early on in finding Casper, we found out that he had FIV, and I was already like bonded with him at the time. So I'm like, I don't really care. And I knew that if I was to adopt another cat, I would look for another FIV cat because they're harder to adopt out. And so on Facebook, I saw a plead for a little cat named Eminem in the mountains of North Carolina. And basically at a home set up, but they found out he had FIV. So they're like, we don't want him anymore. So I called, it all happened so fast, but I called the lady literally that Sunday. She drove 3 hours and dropped him off, which is another blessing in disguise as well, because I'm still close to that lady too. And yeah, so we brought Garbanzo in, but Casper was 2 weeks post-op from sterilization surgery, and Garbanzo was 5 days, and testosterone stays in the cat system for 45 days after getting fixed. So I had 2 unfixed cats in my house who have only ever known wandering and being territorial. And so that was really hard. We got Garbanzo in October, and it wasn't until January that they were like fine with each other. So it was a lot. Yeah, it was a lot. And plus, like, their age difference is Garbanzo is now 11, Casper is 6. And yeah, 2 years, I think it was 3 years. I got Casper in 2022. Well, actually, no, it was probably closer to 2. I've only had them for like 2 years. And then unfortunately, my Nana ended up passing away. And I remember being in her nursing home room after we had heard the news and everything. We were all sad. And I looked up at my sister and I'm like, I'm taking a cat. I don't care. I'm taking. So that's how we got Tortellini.
And I want to add, Tortellini was not actually Nana's cat.
She wasn't her cat, but like I said, my Nana had like 1,000,001 cats, and she swore up and down that she was never going to get a cat again. And plus, she was older, so she was a fall risk and everything. She didn't need a kitten. But my Nana was stubborn, and I guess so were the cats. And they were like, we're not taking no for an answer, essentially. And 2 cats in particular, which was the mama cat and then the baby, which is Tortellini, really bonded with my Nana. Like, they were okay with everyone else, but that was their person. So I took Tortellini. Plus, she was too pretty to be outside.
She's got a very big attitude. But also, I want to add that Tortellini is responsible for me getting a new chair in my office, because when you got her and brought her to the house, we left her in the blog cabin so that way she could hang out, and she ended up peeing all over the chair because she was like freaking out. And she's still kind of like skittish around people that she doesn't know a lot. And then we want to talk about the cats that you fostered after you got Tortellini, because you had a list of foster, and then we finally have a failed foster at the end. So we'll talk about the other cats first that you fostered.
Yeah, so a few years ago, it was Halloween. My partner had gone out for something, and then he came back and he walked in. He was like, Michaela, there's a cat on the porch. And I was like, okay. And there was like a little tomcat on the porch. He was so cute. I went and I literally just picked him up and brought him inside. That's how I know if a cat's like going to be good, because being around cats for so long, they're weird. Like, they're a weird species. I don't know how else to say it. They're great, but they're definitely peculiar about like the people that they trust. So I picked him up. I brought him inside. At that point, we had built our catio, so I put him in the catio. He looked to be around maybe a year old. We ended up naming him Pipperoni, Pip for short, and we basically did all the vetting and everything very early on in the process. My friend had expressed interest about adopting a cat because he had to give up his dog because his apartment was too small. And he was like, I'm kind of lonely. I want to get a cat. So even though like the local Humane Society was a month out from sterilization surgeries and everything, I already had it booked. And my friend would come over every week and like spend time with him and everything. And as soon as he was fixed, a week later, once we knew that he was in the clear for anything else, he went home and he lived with him. And now him and his partner have moved in together, and she has a long hair tuxedo cat. And so now he has a sibling, and he also had FIV too. And that was very scary as well, because FIV isn't a big deal. It's definitely, it like messes with their immune system, and it is contagious through biting and fighting and everything like that. But Casper and Garbanzo literally would go at it, and Garbanzo would attack Leanie sometimes, like, and she doesn't have FIV. Leanie's the only one who doesn't have FIV. Leanie and Mavis don't have FIV. So I kind of just educated him on that, and I was like, you also have me as a support system. Like, I have 2 FIV cats. Like, it's really not that big of a deal. Like, don't let it deter you from adopting. And he made an educated choice, and he decided to go through with it. So that's Pip's success story. And then we took a break for a while because I didn't really know if I wanted to like foster, but I was still on like Facebook groups for fostering and everything. And July of last year, I saw a plead for a little Manx cat. He is so adorable. And I looked and I saw the comments and everything, and everyone's so interested, but the post is still up. So I'm like, something must be up. So I messaged the girl and I was like, hey, last ditch effort. Like, if you can't find anyone to take care of him, I will bring him in. And she messaged me 2 hours later and she was like, I can't find anyone to take care of him. So I kind of went back and forth because I'm like, I don't want to mess up our dynamic of our 3 cats and bring in this other cat. And I was unemployed at the time. So I'm like, I don't know if this is super smart for me to do. But then at like 11 p.m., I just had a calling. I was like, I need to go pick up this cat. So I went and I picked him up at a stranger's apartment at 11 p.m. at night wearing pajamas, and it was raining so hard. And I got his backstory. They thought it was a girl at first, but I got his backstory. And basically, her neighbor had adopted it a year ago and just left him outside when she moved out. So he had been outside. They moved out on a Thursday. I picked him up on a Monday. So the lady who grabbed him was allergic to him, so she couldn't keep him inside. So she had him like on her balcony, and she was leaving for on vacation out of the country. So she really needed to find someone to take care of him. But she was really nice about it. She was like, please give me updates and everything. We just want to make sure he goes to a good family. And I'm like, don't worry, like I got this. And we brought him in. And honestly, it was kind of hard adopting him out. He was already fixed, which I didn't know. So I still like scheduled sterilization surgery for him and everything. And the more I was like waiting for the date, we grabbed him on a Monday and I was able to schedule a date to get him fixed on a Thursday. And the more I was sitting on it, I'm like, this cat is way too nice. He hasn't tried to spray anything. Like he isn't like doing like sin biscuits or anything like that. So I think he's fine. But I went in anyways and I'm like, I think this cat might already be fixed, but I don't know. And so they couldn't really examine it to see if he was fixed unless he was under anesthesia. So I ended up paying for like the bulk of his sterilization surgery anyways. But it was just a peace of mind. And I got blood work done for him too, and everything. And yeah, we had him until I think like September maybe. It was really hard to adopt him out because everyone was interested in him. He was just such a personality, but I think he knew when potential adopters were coming over because he would shut it off real fast. He wanted nothing to do with like the people who would come in. And that was really hard for us because while we were holding like these meet and greets and everything, Casper, our cat, we just kind of let him roam free and everything because it's his house. He could do whatever he wants. But Casper is a ham. So he would love on these adopters and everything. And I'm like, all right, he's not for sale. Like you can't adopt him. But I mean, I see in perspective, like people coming to meet a cat and then obviously seeing another cat is interested in them. They might just be like, well, maybe that original cat that we came for, like, isn't the right fit for us. So we had a lot of that. And then it was just a lot. Since he was a Manx cat, we knew that he could potentially like have like congenital issues and everything. And with Garbanzo and Casper having FIV, and they also have hypertrophic cardiomyopathy as well, we knew that as they get older, we'd have to spend a lot of money on their vet bills, and they were a priority. So we thought about keeping Tuna for a while, but then we're like, let's just try a little bit more. And if we hit that 3-month mark, because we here, like with the fostering, I really hone in on the 3-3-3. So I just wanted to make sure that if we ever had a foster that lasted over 3 months, that we'd really sit down and like discuss keeping them, because we knew that to uproot them after 3 months would be a lot. So we were hitting the 2-month mark with him, and I was like, let me just post on Reddit. So I posted on GSO Reddit, and I was a trending post for like a week. So many people were so interested in him. But then like this one guy commented and he was like, I have 5 cats. If you can't find him a home, we'll take him. And that's pretty much what happened. They came and they fell in love with him, and they're like, we'll take him. And they're such a kind couple. Like I couldn't have chose a better home for him. He has 5 siblings. They live like in a historical loft close to downtown Greensboro. And they have their loft like fitted for like climbing and everything. So he's living his best life. I went to visit him a few months ago and he honestly didn't even recognize me. And I'm like, okay, whatever.
Tuna was the cat that I wanted. I actually had tried to talk your daddy into letting me adopt him because he would like jumped up on my lap the moment that I sat down.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, he's just so sweet.
He was very cute.
And then did you have one after Tuna, or is Mavis the next one?
Yeah, Mavis is the next one. So we got Mavis Binks. She was trapped in a colony to get TNR'd, and all of them after their sterilization surgery were like not having it. But Mavis was like doing slow blinks and purring, and she was really kind. So the people were like, I think she deserves to at least try to go to indoor home. So I commented and I was like, hey, like my foster house is like looking for another cat. We'd be happy to take it in and see if we could try to like domesticate her. So we brought her in, and honestly, well, like I think Tortellini was a little bit harder because Tortellini was kind of feral, but with Tortellini, I kind of had no choice. I was like, she's like my Nana's cat, and like I'm not setting her back outside. Like it's either she's gonna stay underneath the bed for like 3 years and only come out for dinner time. Like there was no choice. But like with Mavis, like it was so hard. For the first few days we didn't see her. She hid behind my wash machine. She would claw like the water lines, so I had to like replace all of that. She was kind of mean. She would hiss and growl at us. She wouldn't let anyone touch her. But she came around so quick, like literally in like a week, she was a completely different cat. And I would keep in touch with the lady who gave her to me, and she called me and she's like, do you think she'll ever play with toys? Like, does she ever meow? And I'm like, no, I don't think she'll do any of that. I think she'll just be a cat that's there. And now she plays with toys. She meows all the time. She's like the most vocal cat that we have. But yeah, she stayed in our laundry room for like a month. And then after that, I put her in our spare room. And even with like the door open and full access to the house, she still chose to stay in there. And then one day she just came out, and she hasn't, like, she basically rules the house now.
I love how you say she rules the house.
Yeah.
And she came to you and they said, oh, we have a foster that our rescue group that's willing to take her in Chicago, but they couldn't take her to what, January or February?
Yeah, so actually the lady who gave her to me, I picked her up from, her son lives in Chicago for grad school, and one of his friends was like, hey, like I've been looking for a cat, and it seems like since you're asking if somebody can adopt a cat, I can adopt it. But he was like, I don't think that I can take, well, he couldn't take it until December because he didn't have means to come pick her up. And that's when like the lady who I got her from was going to Chicago, so she was going to transport Mavis to Chicago in December when they went for Christmas. And yeah, it was kind of hard. If Mavis was like 100% like all the time the way that she is right now from the moment we met her, then maybe I would have been like, yeah, I think she's fine. Like she can go on this trip. I think she'll be a good cat. But unfortunately, since she was so shy and like so feral, and then we had a lot of people come over to our house in between. Like we hosted parties, we have our annual Halloween party and everything, and she wouldn't come out for anyone except for me and my partner's sister and their partner. So she was very selective about who she liked, and I felt like she was bonding with us a little too much. Yeah, I just felt like for a first time cat owner, she probably wasn't the best potential like cat for him to have. And I was completely transparent about that. And plus he had roommates and everything too, which is a little harder for like cat dynamic and everything. And then we started talking more about it. And I think she like picked up on us talking because like cats are intelligent creatures. Like I said with Tuna, like he had adoption people coming over, but he didn't want to leave our house. So he would just act like the not friendliest cat ever, super uninterested. But Mavis, like we talked a lot about it like the first month or the first week in December about her potentially going to Chicago and everything. And literally that week she developed like really bad bladder issues. So I had to take her to urgent care, and they basically said it was like stress related. So we couldn't really think of like anything other than that like made her so stressed. So that kind of made us like sit back and think about it too. It's like if I don't feel like, I go off of instincts a lot, which probably like the guy showed no red flags. Like all the people that I interviewed, like some of them did for like even other cats that I've had. So I've had to make that call like, hey, I don't think this is a good fit. But yeah, we also do meet and greets here. So we bring people in, and I also always offer the foster to adopt. So like you keep the cat for like 2 weeks, a month, and you don't like it, just give it back to me. No questions asked. I don't care. But it'd be harder in that scenario. And I was scared like what would happen to her. Like the guy seems super nice, but it was hard.
Yeah, and I will say, you said that she only came out to you and Connor, your partner, and Connor's sister and boyfriend, but you also forgot Gracie because she slept.
Well, yeah, that was after, like, in October when we first got her, when she wasn't coming out to anyone. That's when she like started opening up to Jillian and Juan and Connor. And then in December, I still had like my friends over, like Katie and everything, and she was still kind of like weirded out. But my little sister Gracie did come and stay with us, and Mavis loved her. So we really think it's like, I've never said this like as a verification, but I really think that's kind of like how we knew that she was going to stay with us, because she was only like okay with us and then our siblings and our family. The same thing with Tortellini. Like she only ever came out for Gracie and Jillian. So it's like, those are our siblings.
So now that you have 4 cats inside, you cannot take any fosters, but you still are. But let's go back to when you actually had Mavis. You actually took an emergency foster placement for a night. And I was like, what? Because there was Mama and 4 of her kittens?
Yeah. Yeah. So I was actually having a conversation with one of like community members that I met about like a cat. Mavis, the lady who took in Mavis, had another cat that came in, but I couldn't take it. So I was talking to my friend about it, and I was like, hey, like, do you think you could take this cat? And she's like, yeah, I think I can potentially. But hey, are you like in Greensboro by chance? And I'm like, yeah. And she was like, I need your help. She had gone away for a day, and she had asked her friend to like watch the cats, but like the cats weren't on a leash or something like that. Basically, the cats were like facing being put in the pound if they weren't picked up like at a certain time. And my friend had saved the original cat from a euthanasia shelter. And then the next day the cat gave birth. It was a mama cat and her 4 kittens. And so I was like, yeah, I'll go pick them up. So I picked them up on my lunch break and I brought them home, and I kept them for like 2.5 days. A transport van came and picked them up at like 2 a.m. and they were on their way to Massachusetts, and now they've been adopted out. The mama and one of the tuxedo cats went to the same home. And then, the mama and 2 tuxedo cats went to the same home. And then a tuxedo cat and the little tabby girl went to the same home as well.
Well, I love that. I love the fact that you're not only fostering cats, but you're also taking emergency placements for rescues to come pick them up. But one thing that we talked about was the fact that you didn't realize when the rescue came to pick them up that they were going to be a long time, so they didn't have any food or anything.
Yeah.
So
I think that goes just back. One, I feel like I'm constantly learning more in this industry, and I'm being educated. Like I've never once like proclaimed myself as like a cat whisperer or a cat expert or anything like that. I still don't think I am. There's so much more to learn. And also I was kind of thrown into that situation at the very last minute, even though I was in touch with the original lady and the rescue. I didn't know that the transport van, like how it was going to go and everything, because they had people who were just like moving houses or moving states and like thought it would be better for them to transport their animal via cargo or like via like cargo van. And then there was also people that are being transported for our animals being transported for going to sanctuaries and stuff like that. So they came and picked her up at 2 a.m. and they weren't in Massachusetts until like 2 a.m. on a Thursday. No, 2 a.m. on a Friday morning. And they weren't in Massachusetts until 8 a.m. Saturday. So they were supposed to be in Massachusetts around 9 p.m. So I felt a little guilty because I didn't really pack them with anything. All I packed them with was like the stuff that they essentially came with. And I was just thinking, their kids can supply off of the mom's food and everything, or the mom, because they were still taking milk from her. And I just thought it'd be like a quick thing. Like, I still don't know like how much like goes into it. I looked into potentially transporting, when we had Tuna, I looked into potentially transporting him to California to my sister. And there's like reputable like companies, like they take care of your animals, like it's their animal. But logistically, I don't really know everything that goes on with that. So they could have been fed, but they're fine and they're living their best lives now. So I try not to think about that. But like next time, if I do encounter a situation like that, I'll make sure like I pack them and have them ready.
And I'm going to bring something up because I actually have something here for you that I forgot to give you last time you were down, but in honor of our orange tabby cat, Travieso, who we had to put to sleep. Oh God, I'm still going to cry about him. But I created little goodie bags for you whenever you have fosters, for you to be able to give to the people who are adopting. And basically it's a bag of cat food and a little cat dish and some little toys for the cats. And so let's talk about that. Let's talk about what you're doing now, because you're obviously at capacity with 4 cats. How big is the house again?
It's like 900 square feet, so it's pretty big.
So, but you have the catio, which most of the time Casper hangs out there. Most of the cats hang out there. So now you're kind of switching gears a little bit and going more into making sure that the cats are spayed and neutered, that they are giving the proper home. You're even helping with the immunizations and everything else. And you're funding this by yourself, asking for donations. But now you're opening it up and saying, hey, you want to help an animal? Let's get these animals off the street. Or if they are on the street, at least get them sterilized so that we don't have more of a population.
Yeah. So the first few steps after I realized that we might be keeping Mavis a little bit longer than expected, I was kind of like branching out to people, being like, hey, if you have a room bigger than a crate, you can foster a cat. I'm never gonna like push it on people, but I'm like, if you have a big house, please potentially open up your home to an animal, especially in the Greensboro area, because I will be willing to do everything. Like I'll come to your house, I'll scoop the litter, I'll feed them, I'll take them to get sterilized. Like I'll literally do anything, but I just can't house them at my house right now. And we still are open for like emergency placements. Like if a cat shows up on our porch, we're going to take it in. If it's like a super dire thing, then we definitely will have to like reevaluate and everything. We always have room for another cat. It's getting a little uncomfortable and stuffy in here. Unfortunately, I am allergic to cats, so it has been really hard, especially now with the 4 of them.
And there's Mavis in the background.
But yeah, it's been hard, not because that was like the number one thing that we did, was like taking cats and like house them and everything, and also have them commingle with our cats. But that's a huge stressor as well on our cats, even though they've always been like fine with that. I have to think from their perspective too. So now we basically just fund everything. Like if you find a cat and you want to take it in, but you don't have the means to support them, I haven't launched it yet, but like on my link, it should be in my bio. I'll have it in my bio probably around this week sometime. I've been super busy, but we will have a form and basically just fill it out. Let us know where they will be registered, like what vet they'll be registered. I'll pay for their vet bills, like no questions asked. Like I'll give you food. We still have stockpiles of food. And yeah, we pretty much do everything we can. We just can't house them, unfortunately, at the moment.
So let's go back to the very first cat that you fostered and that you brought into your home, that showed up on your steps. And we're talking about Casper Calliope and how bad of a shape he was. You already said the vet said, let's euthanize it because he had so many issues.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the issues that he's had and why we should treat animals that are strays a little bit better than what he was treated.
Yeah. Casper, he was dealt a pretty bad hand. And I'm very fortunate. I know it's such a cliche thing to say when people are like, oh, my animal saved me, I didn't save them. But it's true. Like he definitely improved my quality of life. Like he is my best friend. He drives me insane, but I literally could not imagine my life without him. And every day that he's here is like such like, it's just like a huge thing. Like I'm so thankful for him. And so when we found him, he was not in good shape physically. Like he just like looked He looked really bad, but I brought him in, and from day one, he shared my bed. He always had full access to the house. He was covered in fleas. He was bleeding. He was all scabby. And then I was able to take him to the vet that following Monday, and they were like, this is when they were still like doing COVID like protocols and everything. So they came and picked him up from my car, and I just had to sit in my car and wait for everything. At this point, he had no name. He was registered at the vet as no name because I was like, I can't get attached. Like, this cat's in bad shape. And so they brought him out maybe like 10 minutes later, and they're like, hey, so we did some stuff on him, but then we took his temperature, which we should have done first, and realized that he's running a temperature. And at this facility, if you're running a temperature, you can't be seen. So I was like, okay. And they're like, well, you can go inside and talk to the vet and see what they found out before we found out that he was running a temperature. And I was like, all right, fine. So I went and I talked to them, and they were like, hey, he's FIV positive. He's running a temperature of like 100. We think that he's fighting like an internal infection. He probably has an abscess somewhere. And then right as I was talking to the vet, the nurse came out and was like, hey, the other test was positive. And he was positive for heartworms, which unfortunately, there's not like enough research for heartworms in cats, so they don't have treatment. So it's kind of like either the heartworm kills him or the heartworm dies and leaves like lung damage. And so the vet was like, yeah, he's like, I don't know enough about everything that's going on right now because it was a humane society, so they're not funded as well as like other places. But he's like, this cat is no name. I suggest euthanasia. And I was like, yeah, it's probably not what I'm going to do. If you have any recommendations, I would appreciate it. And then I just took him home. And I called around, and it was such a hard thing because he was running a temperature and he looked horrible. But I was so scared to take him to the emergency vet because I was scared they were going to put him down. And I never had like an animal before. So I'm like, I don't know if they talked to the owner before doing this. Like, I don't know if this is something you should take to the emergency clinic. So I just did a bunch of research on it, and I would like every night I would put like a warm compress like on his side because I could feel it. I could feel the abscess. And then we had gone out to dinner, and when we came home, he was like so active, running around. And I'm like, wow, this is like a stark difference. Like, you hear about like people like they go through bursts of energy before they pass away. So that's what I was thinking was happening. But then I went down to like pet him, and this is like a little gross and TMI, but his abscess had burst. And they were like, you will know because it's like something that you never want to smell. So his abscess had burst, and I ended up finding a vet that actually like took care of like FIV cats and everything. So I brought him in there. They shaved him down. He had a hole in the side of his stomach. It was like maybe this big. Like, it was huge. But they gave him antibiotics, and it closed up on its own. And I thought he was going to need stitches for sure, but he was fine. We had to do multiple rounds of antibiotics on him, which is also hard for an FIV cat because their immune system. And then plus he was like dealing with respiratory issues from the heartworms. And yeah, so it took us a while to get cleared for sterilization surgery because we knew that his immune system couldn't handle both of them at the same time. So once he was healed from that, we got him fixed, which this is like one of the things where I'm like a little blessed that I was uneducated, because if I knew like the whole anesthesia process and having to put a cat under who had heartworms, like I would have like, for lack of better words, been shitting myself if I knew like how like risky that is. But I got his vet to do the sterilization surgery instead of going to somewhere cheaper because she knew how to handle him, and he got through it. And yeah, he just like completely changed into a different cat. He is so healthy. But about a year after getting him, me and my partner were coming home, and he was on the floor, like not able to walk. He was breathing through his mouth. It was so scary. I rushed him to the emergency clinic, and I was like, yeah, this cat, like, he's not doing well. Like, he can't walk. So they're like, yeah, this is an emergency. So they immediately took him back from me. And at emergency clinics, most of the time, like, if it's like a smaller case, they make you sit out in the waiting room with your animal. But if it's like a bigger case, they like take the animal back. Well, Casper, it was a big case when we got there. But Casper being Casper and having so much personality, as soon as he saw like all the new friends, he was like, oh, okay, I love it here. And he started walking around and everything. So I sat there for 3 hours not getting an update. And I'm like, is my cat okay? And they're like, Oh yeah, he's like best friends with everyone in the back. He's doing great, but he had pneumonia and his heartworms had passed away. So when they passed, they left like really bad damage to his lungs. And we also got an X-ray and realized that he had been shot, and he still has like the BB inside of him.
So that's why I wanted to tell you about that, because you did not know. You hadn't worked a year, and then you realized that. So he was living the thug life. Now I put up your Instagram because I want people to go over and look at them. It's katas.cat, KATAS.cats. And you need to go over. Casper Clyde is the white kitty. He is so cute. I'm looking at his pictures right now. And then I see Mavis, and they're just so cute. They're so cute. And tell us the reason behind their names. First of all, did Tuna's name change, or was it still Tuna? Is it still Tuna?
They call him Rocket now, but they still call him Tuna. But yeah.
And then, so tell us the background behind the names.
Yeah. So Casper Clyde, he's obviously a white cat, but I felt like Casper's too cliche, and he reminded me of a grumpy old man. So I'm like, perfect. And also South Park character Clyde. So Casper Clyde. And then Garbanzo. I've always wanted a cat named Garbanzo. But when I got Casper, like that was a potential name, Garbanzo. But he just didn't look like a Garbanzo. So I saved that name for Garbanzo, the orange cat. And then Tortellini. She was originally Baby. She didn't really have a name. Yep, that's Garbanzo. That one's Mavis.
Tortellini. Go back to that. We'll talk about Tortellini in a minute. That's Casper when you first saw him.
Yeah.
And look how rough he looks.
Yeah.
And then I want to show what he looks like now.
Yeah. He's so handsome.
Out there in the snow. He loves to be outside. And I think you have Tortellini on this one.
Yeah. She's not out there.
But then here's Tuna.
Yeah, that's Toonie.
And I don't think but you also do something else as well. You also, for part of a fundraiser, you have stickers, tote bags, t-shirts, bookmarks, mugs, and sweatshirts that people can buy to help fund this kind of donation.
So when I was unemployed and we took in Tuna, I was like, I need to find a better way to like fund this. I can't ask for donations, but I can like provide goods and potentially get some money from that to help with like immunizations, sterilizations, and all that stuff. So that's when I launched like our merch and everything. We did pretty good initially in sales for merch. We still have a few items left, like ready. I feel like we haven't really gotten a lot of demand, so I haven't put in like a second like inventory thing, but we are potentially looking at broadening our horizons a little bit because I've taken on so many different hobbies and crafting lately that I think it'd be cool to like potentially like sell some of my like what I make and all that are related to cats too, to help with like the bills.
Yeah, so if people, you said you haven't placed another order, but if people want to purchase, how do they do that? Do they just go to your Instagram and send you a message?
Yeah, just DM me directly. What I still have currently available are our stickers. We have 2 tote bags. We have a bunch of bookmarks, and we also have, I think, probably 1 t-shirt left. But yeah, if we do like get demand for other things, we will be putting in like more orders.
So what's next for Kata's Cats?
Right now, it's all about networking. I am trying so hard to get in with communities and everything, seeing how my friend had taken in the mama cat and 4 kittens, and she was able to find a rescue in Massachusetts. Just makes me realize that like no geographical location, like it's not like we're not bound geographically by anything. The love for animals is something that everyone shares, and sanctuaries are willing to help out. So I think right now I'm just doing a lot of networking and trying to like find people to help out, because obviously like so Kata's Cats only fosters from like cats that we like find or that we're asked. We don't foster along with the shelter or anything like that. So we never have like placement. It's us doing the outreach and like trying to find them a home. Like we don't have like many different avenues. For Tuna, since he was a Manx cat, we do have a tailless cat rescue that was ran out of Burlington, North Carolina, that they kind of did a courtesy post for us to see. And I did get some interest from that. So yeah, that's really what we're doing right now, is just trying to network a lot to see if we do have to take in a cat, that we're able to have them in and out. Like, as much as we love cats and would love to love on all the cats, like we can't have them come into our home for like a few months, because not only would that like disrupt us, that would disrupt the cat and everything. So trying to find like quicker avenues to help them out so that we can help out more cats.
And I will say that a lot of times, a lot of people would, if they want to adopt an animal, they want to adopt, but they don't want to pay all the fees that they have to pay for the animals. And there's Casper Clyde making his debut. Hi, baby boy. Hi, Grandma's boy. Look how healthy he looks now, Caspy. So people don't really want to make that initial, like, okay, I'm gonna get a cat. I'm gonna adopt it from the shelter, but I don't want to spend all that money and then something be wrong with the cat. And I love the way that you're actually kind of vetting it first and saying, okay, I will put the money up front. So even if you don't want the cat and you end up, letting it go loose, heaven forbid, that cat is not at least increasing the cat population.
Yeah. And like I said, I always offer foster to adopt. So we'll take back cats. Like, no questions asked. We'll take them back. Like, years from now, months from now, like my friend who adopted Pip, if I told him, like, if he ever, like 2 years from now, if he ever was like, I'm moving, I can't take care of this cat anymore, which won't happen, but I'll take him back.
So why do you think that there's such a people are so inconsiderate, so loveless, that they bring this animal into their house, they love on it, most of the time it is the cats are being left behind, but dogs are also being left behind, where they're just like, okay, we're moving and we're not taking the animals with us. What do you think people are so heartless?
I don't know. I feel like that has a lot to do with like how people are brought up and everything, just like not having empathy for a creature, and seeing firsthand how my own dad has, like, the way he grew up. There's stray dogs, stray cats running around. They're more of like a nuisance. And I would say cats are still like on that level, because my dad grew up in like rural Mexico. So it was completely different than it is here. But cats are invasive. They're an invasive species. They kill other species. They can be a nuisance. They travel in colonies. Like, they spread diseases and stuff like that. Unfortunately, I felt like they weren't really dealt like the best hands. Like, you do sometimes see like dogs like walking around, but if you're going to Target late at night or anywhere, like, you'll always most likely see a cat. And the colonies, the way they reproduce too, they can have like 3 litters in a year. The one litter can have multiple different like fathers. Like, cats can start reproducing as little as 6 months. Like, Mavis isn't even a year yet, and when I got her, she already had 1 litter. And Tortellini was only 2, and when I got her, she already had like 3 litters.
And she also had a litter after you adopted her, and they ended up not making it.
Yeah.
And then you talk about Daddy, and you talk about how he didn't have that empathetic animals, and yet look at him now. I mean, he has his own special cat at the house.
Yeah, I just feel like it's always about circumstance, like how you grew up, and also if you had an animal, like how you view animals. Like, he grew up on a farm, so I think he viewed animals very much as like
they had a job.
Less of like a pet, like more of like an employee, I guess. It was a very different mindset, and I mean, I've never met anyone nicer than my dad, but he definitely, like, it has been interesting seeing like his dynamic with the animals to begin to ending. Now he's like, he cuts up hot dogs for Marky, like, literally he spoils them.
And Tiger will come running, and literally when he comes in the afternoon, they're running because they know he's going to feed them, and they know it's feeding time. Yeah. But also, let's talk about Gigi for a minute, because at one point in time you also adopted a dog. You realize the dog has a way of making you feel guilty if you put her in a cage, because she had those puppy dog eyes. And so she ended up coming home with us one day after you adopted him you had her for about a week and a half, and you just felt guilty, right?
Yeah. So Gigi, Like Gigi was kind of hard because I had put fillers out to potentially get a dog. I've always wanted a dog. So I was like, I'm gonna get a dog, I'm gonna get a pit. Like I was like a single woman living in a big city. So I'm like, this is like something good for me. And I was also running a lot at the time. But like I said, I was putting out fillers. Like it was my senior year of college. I was living in an apartment with roommates. Like I didn't expect to hear back so quickly. But my friends, he was in the Air Force, and his friend was deploying to Japan. And they were like, we've been trying for months to find this dog a home. We can't. She's going to the pound. And that's one thing that I hate, especially like now owning a rescue and everything. Like I'll never put that on somebody. But yeah, I always like make sure my fosters know, like if they can't find a home, they're just gonna stay here. Like but so we went and we met Gigi. She was so sweet. I brought her home and made sure that her and Allie got along. And Allie's a little peculiar about dogs. So once those two got along, I was like, okay, I guess I can do it. And it was a lot at the time, but I took her in. I was like walking her like 5 times a day. Like I was literally giving her the best life, but she just looked so sad. And my studio classes were like insane. So I asked my dad, I was like, do you guys think that you can keep her until I can find a house? Because I know I was eventually going to buy a house after I graduated. I just wanted to make sure she had a yard and everything. And I was like, you just keep her for a few months until I get like my finals over and I get this house and I graduate, and then I'll take her back. And he was like, well, if we keep her, we're keeping her outside. And I'm like, that's not going to happen. You're keeping her inside. He's like, okay, fine, but only for like a few weeks. Literally, they came and picked her up on Halloween. And the first week of November, I called my dad and I was like, so how's my dog doing? Like, I hope she's not causing any trouble. Like, let me know if I could send you money for food. You know, it's only gonna be temporary. He's like, yeah, I don't think so. Like, we're gonna keep this dog. You're gonna have to find a new dog because we're keeping this dog. And I was like, okay.
Yep, because she bonded with Gracie. That's Gracie's dog now because she's like Gracie. She's like all over Gracie. But also too, at that point, I think we were getting ready to buy a truck, and Daddy's like, well, we need a truck that was big enough to carry both the dogs in the back seat. And for Allie, who's a little Shih Tzu, it's not a big deal. But for Gigi, if you watch the opening credits, that's Gigi in the opening credits. She's the bigger dog. But it's a big deal for her. You know, she needs lots of room. And so for him, he spoils her more than anybody else in the whole family. Like when he's cooking dinner, he's feeding her before he's feeding himself, basically. He's like sneaking her food.
Yeah.
So it's amazing.
Yeah, okay. I like to look at that like scenario not as like a fail on either of me and Gigi's part, but more of like me being a foster home for her until like she found placement. I mean, everything works out for a reason. And I would have kept Gigi too if like no one could have taken her. But I just had to like look out for her best interest and everything. And partially it was like on me, because again, like I was uneducated. I'm like, oh, cute dog. And I feel like that's a huge issue, especially with adopting. People are like cute, but they're just like not ready to be like parents. I mean, this is a lifelong commitment. Dogs are living every day, like they're living longer. So cats can like live up to, I was cat sitting a cat who was like 21. So it's like cats can live forever, dogs can live forever. They're a lifelong commitment.
Yeah, for sure. So thank you for coming on and for sharing about Kata's cats, for bringing in cats, for bringing Gigi into our life, for praying and manifesting Marky, who is still around. She is probably one of the sweetest cats. If you ever watch my Instagram, she comes in and hangs out in the blog cabin with me. And Marky's responsible for Jinxie and Tiger, and also responsible for one of the grandkitties, Mylan, because he's living the bougie life in California. Yeah. But thank you for just opening your heart for these cats, because I think there's so many unwanted animals out there that people just need to give them a second chance and open up. Even there's like Bravo Steaks, who we follow and who we get the meat from. They just got 2 barn cats, because even cats that are feral cats can still be used if you're on a farm or something.
And that's like another thing that I want to mention too. Like, I know there's like misconceptions behind like having outdoor cats and everything. And obviously like the best place is a safe space in your home. But there are cats that you're going to meet that just can't be domesticated. Mavis, for example, her sibling, like, I don't think there was a chance that her sibling could have been domesticated, but Mavis was able to be domesticated. I mean, it takes a lot of patience, but like sometimes the best place is outside, and that's why TNR is so important, like trap, neuter, and release, because that's like their home. Outside is their home. That's the only thing that they've ever known. And for you to take them from that when they can't be domesticated will not only put stress on them, but put stress on you. So sometimes the best thing you can do is just leave them outside after you get them like the correct means and everything. And a lot of colonies do have people who go out and take care of them. Like the lady who I adopted Garbanzo from. Garbanzo is actually her first cat that she like, because she didn't really believe in like TNRing. And after Garbanzo, she realized that, you know, she can't find a home for every single cat that she traps. And a lot of them can't be domesticated. So she was like, I am open to TNRing. And now she like takes care of like maybe 5 colonies. She goes and feeds all of them like every day.
Wow. Yeah, we want to talk about, you talk about siblings, because yes, Jinxie and Mylan they would be happy to be inside, but Tiger, she will go straight crazy if she's inside for more than 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So, but she's still one of the sweetest cats, and she'll let you pet her and stuff.
Yeah.
So thank you, Kata, or Michaela, for coming on and for sharing. Kata is her nickname. That's actually nickname that we said Allie gave her, our Shih Tzu gave her.
Yeah.
So tell your Instagram again so people can find you.
It's Kata's Cats on Instagram.
And so thank you very much. And guys, please think about getting your pets spayed or neutered. And if you see an animal, just pick it up and take it to the vet. I mean, and there's a lot of people out there now that are willing to help with the medical cost, if you think.
And there's so many communities on Facebook. So like type in your city and be like feral cat community or cats needing homes, and you can always post on there. And a million people are willing to like help. Yeah. So always reach out. Like, you can never not like, it's like even the littlest like connection can lead to something bigger. So don't think like little me can't change anything. Like, yeah, you can. I always talk about it. I'm like, oh, I only saved like 2 cats this year, but like in reality, I haven't, because I saved so many other cats. Because if I would have left Pip out there with FIV, he could have contaminated so many other cats and they could have gotten sick. He could have gotten so many other cats pregnant, and then that would have been like a huge thing as well. So it's like saving 1 cat can save a million different lives and also help with like the overflow at shelters as well.
Yeah, and that's the reason why I chose the Mother Teresa quote, because you were making that one little ripple with that one little stone, and you're affecting, like you said, you were looking at only saved 2 cats, but actually in reality, you saved more if you look at the big picture.
Yeah.
So thank you, Michaela, for coming on and for sharing.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you for agreeing, because I know it was last minute. I was like, hey, do you want to do a podcast with me?
Yeah.
So until next time, guys. Bye.